at TU-Automotive Detroit 2015, and I've been joined today by Cameron Coursey, Vice President of Product Development at AT&T. Hi Cameron, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Firstly, can you explain what you do in the organization and the role it involves?
Absolutely. So I run product development for the Internet of Things for AT&T. The Internet of Things is almost anything that can carry current in it that's not a smartphone. That includes a connected car. So what we have to do is help our business partners to make those things work, to connect them, and then just to make it all work on our networks and for the end customer.
And so, looking at that role and within your organization, what would you say are the biggest opportunities coming up for you and your organization? What are the things that are driving you forward, goals you hope to achieve?
Sure. So in the connected car space, we of course want to connect as many cars as we can, but not just for the purpose of connecting them. We really think that it's going to help the automakers, it's going to help the drivers and the passengers of the vehicles in many different ways. One way is to provide a big pipe into the vehicle that can then help to download new updates and keep the vehicle from having to be sent back into a dealership for updates. Another thing then is to provide some safety and security services to the customer, to the driver and to the passengers again, to keep them safe in the case of an accident, to help them to get help as soon as possible, to help them diagnose problems with the car so that they can proactively get them fixed instead of being reactive, as well as provide additional services to the customer and things that can help provide safety, such as vehicle-to-vehicle communication, vehicle-to infrastructure, so that they can drive without having to worry as much about road traffic or problems that they encounter on the road.
Yeah.
And finally, infotainment and things like that we can deliver into the vehicle, obviously keeping the driver safe, but passengers on long trips, giving them other things to do, streaming music and things like that.
And reduce stress for the driver.
Reduce stress, because those kids are always saying, when are we going to be there, right?
Exactly, absolutely right. Yeah. But looking on the other flip side of the coin, the hurdles. What do you see as the biggest hurdles to the adoption of this technology? How would you sell it to the consumer who may be a bit suspicious of it?
Sure.
Not sure.
Well, first of all, you need to make it simple. I think that's, if there's anything that we've learned over the last few years, it's that keep it simple for the customer. Make it something that they see value in. And by value, it could be in many different areas of value, right? One could be in, how can I be safer for myself and for my family? But another one is, how can it enhance my life? How can it help me get to work faster or get back home faster or reduce the stress, as you indicated? So to the extent that we can show that to the customer, then that is what will help have them adopt it. Now, another way that AT&T is uniquely positioned to do this, and what we have done for some of the auto OEMs, is provide them the ability to provide a service themselves to the customer, the safety and the security that a customer may purchase from the auto manufacturer or get directly from them when they purchase the car as part of the purchase price. But then in addition to that, and on top of that, because you have this big pipe coming into the car, and for us that's usually an LTE-based technology, now you have the opportunity for the customer themselves to have these other services, such as a Wi-Fi hotspot in the vehicle, so they don't have to pull out their smartphone, set up a Wi-Fi hotspot, and it drains the battery, or maybe it doesn't work as well because the antenna is inside the car, not on the roof. So you can get a better experience with a Wi-Fi hotspot that's set up from the car. And when they're able to do that now, if they're, for example, an AT&T customer already, they can add the car to their mobile share plan. So to them, it's like another device for the customer, and it makes it simple for them. Then they can pool their data usage across all their different devices, including their car. So the more that we can do things like that, it will help the adoption even more.
And what about the integration of platforms like the Googles, the Androids?
Sure.
Is that a bit of an obstacle at the moment? And will it be dismantled quite soon, do you think?
I think it's an interesting area. I think those will continue to be very important for the driver and for the passenger and for the auto manufacturers to be able to have them bring the smartphone into the car to take advantage of the things that Apple and Google can provide. But also, an auto manufacturer wants to have their own look and feel in the car and wants to provide services that are better provided over an embedded connected capability rather than a brought-in smartphone. An example is firmware updates. You don't want to be using the driver's smartphone to download updates to the car. It might, result in a big bill for him, and it's not as reliable as the connection that's going to come into the car directly. So I don't think we see it as a competition as much as, or an obstacle as much as a complement. There's still some friction for the customer in setting up the connection from their smartphone to the car that can be not there when you use the embedded connectivity. So I think they'll all exist along with each other. The thing that the smartphone can help with is, as we all know today, you might buy a car, you might have that car, or it might be on the road for 15 years or so. A smartphone gets changed out maybe every year, every 2 years, right? So how can you keep up with the latest technology in the vehicle? And one of the things that I think we need to embrace as an automotive and wireless industry is, how could we do that better? When I go buy a house, I might have that house for 15 years also. And I've paid a lot of money for that house. But that does not mean that I have the same television in the house for 15 or 20 years. I'm able to get a new one maybe after a few years when there's new technology out. I think we need to be thinking about how can we do the same thing for the car space as well.
Excellent, excellent. And looking way in the future, 20 odd years, I mean, things will be a lot different. How different to the consumer would that be, the world be for them? What do you see it as for the consumer?
I think it's going to be amazingly different and better for the consumer. There's a lot of talk in the industry now about autonomous driving. There's a lot of challenges to make that happen. You want it to be very safe on the road, right? In some situations, it might be easier than others. When you're low speed, maybe inside cities or something like that. When you get out on a highway and you're going 100 kilometers per hour or more, there's a lot more that could go wrong as well. So there's different scenarios where autonomous driving, I think, will take off first. But I think in 20 years, we're going to have figured that out. We're going to have figured out how to make the cars smarter on their own, but also how to communicate with each other and how to communicate with the infrastructure so that again, you can be more in control of that car so that it can stay safe, but the user doesn't have to, the driver doesn't have to pay as much attention. There might not be as much driving. There might be more autonomous driving at that time. I think that's probably the biggest change that we'll see in 20 years.
And finally, events like this, as TU-Automotive Detroit,
Yeah.
what do you get out of it as a business, for your business? What is the reason for being here?
These events bring together all the different players in the industry, right? All the different suppliers, all the different auto manufacturers, and you get a chance to, first of all, connect in ways that you might not if you had to go to them individually. You get to see the latest thinking for the automotive industry, and you get to challenge each other, I think, with just like what is going to happen in 20 years, right? I'm going to ask that question myself as I go through here.
Yeah, lovely. Well, thank you very much indeed. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.